Okay, hey guys. Today I am here with Ben Day of Lionshare Bookkeeping. My name is John Wires, and I'm here with the MAREI PartnerCast. This is episode 23, actually. We are getting up there, even though we're in the 20s. Thanks for joining us today, Ben, on this cold and gloomy day in KC.
Dude, I'm pumped to be here. I look for any opportunity I possibly can to just talk about real estate. So when I saw you, we're looking for guests. I was like, dude, I want to go rock John's world. I want to tell him all of my secrets, give him all the information, and do my best not to be a boring bookkeeping professional. So I'm all about it, man.
No, if someone had to go through the pain, you seem like the guy that could do it for us for sure. And you got to keep it fun because a lot of us know it's a tough job. So
Oh, like watching paint dry, dude. Yeah.
we appreciate you're doing it for us versus ourselves. So let's go ahead and get into a little bit about you, your background. You've been through the spiel. Go through that and a little bit about the company, and then we can go through your services and tips and tricks and all that good stuff.
Sure. So my name is Ben Day. I own Lionshare Bookkeeping. We provide outsourced bookkeeping and CFO services exclusively to real estate investors. I got started in 2017. I'd actually been fired from a 1099 gig in the music industry on Christmas Eve of 2016. And I got fired not because like I was the worst or because like the business owner didn't know what they were doing, but because the business owner, the guy who was running the show, was so passionate, so good at what he was doing that he found a partner to handle the finance side. And the partner had came to him on Christmas Eve and said, "Hey, we're out of money." And so this kind of like was the like crystallizing event in my life where it was like, oh, I never want to be on the receiving end of this ever again. And how cool would it be if I could take these people that are really passionate about what they do and not be the guy that shows up on Christmas Eve and says, "Hey, you're out of money"? What if I could have had that conversation with that person 30, 60, 90 days beforehand, a year beforehand, whatever it is? And so that's really what got us started into entrepreneurship. And then I had an accounting degree in addition to that music degree. So I thought we'll do some bookkeeping. I found a coach. And then my family is actually in banking in Oklahoma City. And I had a conversation with dad and he said, "Hey, listen, I've got all these investors. They're brand new or they're experienced. They're great at rehabs or sales and marketing. They're great wholesalers, whatever. But whenever I ask them for their numbers, it's a spreadsheet that doesn't line up, or it's a legal pad, or it's numbers on the back of a napkin. And my bank is just not comfortable lending them money. Could we form some sort of like informal partnership where you just know how to do great books that the bank likes, that the tax preparers like, and then the bank can lend money on your clients and your clients can pay like the bank the points and get the real estate that they need for their financial freedom, and everybody wins, right? Just this happy situation." And that was 3 years ago. Today we work with clients from Maine to Hawaii and everywhere in between. I'm from Oklahoma City, but I live in Lawrence, Kansas right now. I've got a big team and we really do work exclusively with real estate investors. So that's kind of that's the spiel. That's where we came from. That's what we do. That's why we do it. That's our background. And yeah, that's what we got.
That's pretty awesome. You make a good point there. You're kind of a partner with an investor on trying to get more deals and further and scale their business, because obviously if a lender comes in and they see your type of underwriting and your financials, and if you're not put together, they're going to be worried about lending money to you because they're technically your biggest partner in an equity deal.
Exactly. I think everybody's got bookkeeping pegged wrong. Like regular businesses, like a t-shirt company or a restaurant, bookkeeping for them is tax time. That's once a year at most. If you're a
Right.
real estate investor, you're always should at least always be looking for more cash. And the easiest way to find cash is at a bank, and banks like to work with business professionals. So showing up with a spreadsheet with pretty colors and like it's a profit and loss, but it also has your like debt coverage or your capex or whatever in there, like that just immediately screams that you haven't quite decided that you're going to level up your business yet. And so we really do like to come in and be that partner where we talk to clients every month, if not every week. We're like, "Hey, like not only do we need the compliance stuff, the receipts, the statements, the HUDs to do all the accounting, but then also like we need to make some financial decisions. Like what's our budget like? How are we maximizing your lending and making it super easy on tax time, right? And so there's a lot going on there. We're not just bookkeepers, full blue bookkeeping professionals. Like I want to talk. I tell clients when I onboard them, I will be your best friend inside of 60 days. Like that is the relationship we'll have, because I need to know everything that you know and be able to read your mind and be able to create financial statements so that you can go do what you need to do, sales and marketing, rehab, or, allegedly somewhere there's a beach where all these people that make passive income are hanging out, not working. And if my clients can go find that beach somewhere, my hope is that someday they invite me there too. So yeah, man, 100%. We're partners in this business as much as we can be.
Give me your differentiation from like bookkeeping to like CPA. Where's that melt, or where's the line?
Sure. So, and the first thing that some people may not know about taxes is that really technically anybody can file them. And I want to immediately say under that we at Lionshare Bookkeeping do not do taxes. That is not what we do. I don't file taxes. I don't prepare taxes, none of that stuff. But technically anybody can do that. So when we're thinking about CPAs, what we're really talking about is your tax preparer, maybe your tax strategist, right? You can have a CPA or an EA, which is an enrolled agent with the IRS, or your uncle down the street that has an accounting degree, right? Anything like that. The real differentiation that we like to make is that taxes involve tax law and forms and filing, and navigating really the legal environment of money. Whereas something like finances, like being a lender or being a CFO, is really kind of about like trends and operations and risk. The best CFO, the best banker in the world, and the best CPA or the best tax professional in the world literally cannot do their job without the foundational element of bookkeeping. So if we can get this part right, your tax preparer is going to have the easiest time in the world. Your banker is going to have the easiest time in the world, but this has to be solid first. That's really how we begin to draw the line here in this space.
It makes sense. And that'll save you time and money on the CPA side, obviously, as they look through your books and they can offer recommendations to you. But it's hard to, predict the future through pro forma, or just, running your business to a certain path if you don't have a clear understanding of the present or the past. So that definitely makes sense. And as far as the people that you work with, I was just here looking on the site. We could say it again, but it's lionsharebookkeeping.com. Looks like retail, wholesaler, house flippers, property managers, landlords, apartment syndicators. Is that pretty much the brunt of? I mean, that's a lot of people in real estate.
I mean, so, and this is an excellent point that you're making. What we originally set out to do was to help landlords and house flippers. If you've ever met a landlord before in your life, and if you are a landlord, you've owned a rent house before, you and I both know that you're immediately dreaming of a 100-unit apartment complex, right? Like that's just where people go. And so, and actually since then we've helped people with land investing, like trailer parks, mobile homes. What we what I like to say is that if it closes at a title company, we've done the accounting for it, right? But the reason we get so broad inside of real estate investing in particular is because real estate's naturally creative. That's why people like it so much. You can get into a deal and think you're going to wholesale it, and then you realize that it's fantastic. You want to keep it as a rental, or vice versa. And so if we were going to ignore how wholesaling works or ignore how like the Burr method works, we just wouldn't be able to actually help real estate investors. So we leave that part kind of broad, but it's like any client that we had in like software as a service or like house cleaning, landscaping, all those folks, we ended up finding new bookkeepers for at the turn of the year this year, so that we could 100% be all in on the real estate space, because there's just so much ground to cover in here. But yeah, it's pretty all encompassing.
Walk me through the process on how someone would get set up if they gave you a call. I mean, is it something to where they're taking care of? It sounds like you're doing all the entry through maybe QuickBooks or some technology through the web. Are they sending you receipts? Like how updated do they have to be when using your services, and how much can they stay away from it after they hire someone like you guys?
Sure. So this is an excellent question. Our end goal is that once our clients are all the way onboarded, it should take them no more than 5 minutes a month to make the wheels keep spinning. And that is taking pictures, that is shooting the one email with questions. Pretty much everything else, we can build a custom system just for that business in order to get the information we need. And I love that, because never in my life have I heard of somebody being excited to talk to their bookkeeper, right? And everybody
Right.
expects that I'm going to call them and be like, "Hey, John, it's me again. I need all 87 of your Home Depot receipts."
Yeah.
Like that's like everybody's expecting that from us. So my really big focus for the last year, 18 months has been, what can we do to get our clients out of their books? They should still be involved, but as far as like actually creating them, how can we make that burden as little as possible so that when we do call them, it's all strategy. It's all, hey, like our apartment syndicators, as an example, like we'll go to those folks and we'll say, hey, here's what your pro forma said. Here's what you're supposed to be turning out, but your labor is 12% high. Your payroll's too high on this unit. You need to go talk to your property manager, because that's going to increase your NOI, right? And now suddenly it's like, oh, okay, cool. Whoever's running that syndication, whoever's running that complex, running that business, can go do the sales and marketing, go do the rehab, raise more money, find more deals, whatever. And we're helping them manage what they already have in addition to all the other benefits, right? So whenever I call somebody, I want them to be excited to talk to me. And that means that in our onboarding process, it is 60 days of me becoming your best friend. We'll get really safe access to bank and credit card accounts. For those of you that don't know, you can add users to your Home Depot Pro account so that I can actually go and just log into Home Depot. And if you've been using the POs like a good investor, we can just go and pull that information. I don't even have to ask you for the receipts. And there's just all kinds of different little tricks and systems and processes in there that you can implement virtually with a virtual bookkeeping solution that will make managing this a walk in the park by the time that we're done.
Yeah, that sounds definitely tempting to spend that much time. And obviously, people can spend more time if they want, just to get familiar with it. But obviously, that's your guys' job. And if you guys are analyzing and giving advice on, for example, that you use with the syndication budget, that's definitely value add right there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say I could contest to getting those Home Depot receipts and, recording all the utility bills. As everyone knows, and as they say, you got to, make best use of what you do best. And sometimes the nitty gritty stuff you should farm out. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Dude, 100%, man. And it's just like, what I really love the most about this is the fact that once we get somebody in the door and like we get them onboarded, like they're naming their kids after me, whatever it is, right? Once we get them onboarded, like the first meeting is always the most technical, where it's like, okay, like we're in the door, we're using Ben and Ben's team and it's great, but we have so many questions. We don't know how any of this works. And then the second meeting is when we begin to see the results of like, hey, this is what outsourcing can really be like. And by the third meeting, we're talking about our favorite vacation destinations and or big business strategy, or just, like the movie we saw last weekend. Because at some point it really does begin to just work seamlessly. It should just work seamlessly if you the system works if you work it, and we're working most of it. That's really the end goal. Like, how passive can we make the finance department of your real estate business? I'm gangbusters for that, man. I'll do that all day.
No, that's definitely a value add there. What are you guys using as far as bookkeeping technology, and then maybe document sharing? Is it something like an online QuickBooks or a variation of that bookkeeping software? Is it something like Google Drive or Dropbox to share receipts and reports? What can someone like that expect as far as the tech side?
Sure. So, and actually what I want to do is I want to talk about why we do what we do first.
Okay.
Because what I've noticed, like, real estate software is everywhere, right? It's all $2,000 and it all does everything. It's all like a one box solution, right? and what we have found working with Buildium, Cozy, Appfolio, Rent Tech Direct, whatever, like you name it, we've seen it, is that all of these softwares that are trying to do everything really force you almost to have that like in-house, sit down at my desk, be an employee kind of role in this situation. And most of those softwares really only do one or two things really well. And the rest of the things that the rest of the features they have are just kind of afterthoughts. They're like bolted on. And so the reason we use dedicated accounting software, we use QuickBooks Online, is not because it's the best for real estate investors or it's exclusive to real estate investors or anything like that, but it is because it is the best and most flexible accounting software. For landlords, just as an example, our main recommendation to landlords if they're trying to scale up their business is to have their accounting in QuickBooks and their actual rent collection and tenant management in a software called Tenant Cloud. And the reason we recommend Tenant Cloud over anything else, it's not like it's rent collection and maintenance requests, right? Like you can do that with a cell phone and a couple of envelopes. But the reason we recommend Tenant Cloud is because the paid version is one, cheap. It's like, I think right now it's $35 for 500 units. And it's all online. You can manage the whole thing, do all the maintenance requests, the leasing, everything. And the invoicing that you collect in Tenant Cloud syncs with QuickBooks Online, which means whoever you have in the property management role in your business can do property management, and whoever's in the accounting role in your business can do accounting, and they're never stepping on each other's toes. And that is the dream for me 9 times out of 10. So when we're picking out software like this, yeah, we're going to use QuickBooks Online because it works with just about everything, and just about everybody knows how to get in there and do something. For our document sharing, we do a couple different things. For regular investors, we'll do something like Receipt Bank, which is just like a take picture, goes to your accountant, throw the receipt away. We have it now. We can code it. We also set up a lot of bank account or credit card account view-only access so that we can pull our own statements without buying ourselves a boat with your money. And then we also will use things like ClickUp for our workflow and communication, as well as any other softwares that we can plug in to get all the other nitpicky data that we have. So that's kind of like just the baseline. But then we've got clients who will close, like I've got a house flipper in Oklahoma City. I think he did 60 deals last year. So instead of like sending him a text every 2 weeks, like, hey, can I get the HUDs that you just closed on? He just knows that he needs to put them in a Dropbox that we have access to, that we can go get. That's a custom part in our process. It works for him. We make it work for us. Everybody's happy. So beyond the basics, from there, it really is just like little custom processes here and there designed to fit your business best.
No, the software that you mentioned definitely is popular. With our syndication, we use Yardi ourselves. And it depends on, the management company you're working with, or if you're doing books with them. Yardi, my partners have a complex they're managing themselves, and they use Tenant Cloud. So yeah, those are definitely popular ways. What was the software you mentioned again for the receipt tracking?
Sure. We use a software called Receipt Bank.
Okay.
Yeah. One of
I haven't heard of that before. Interesting.
And I'm not surprised by that. They really do a good job at targeting accounting firms. And so like, instead of buying like one subscription from them at a time, we actually just bought like a pack of 50, and then we assign them out to clients as we go.
Sure.
And so it makes sense for their business model, makes sense for ours. But there's a ton of people in that space. HubDoc was one that we were using before we moved to Receipt Bank. That was great. We just thought Receipt Bank was a little bit better for our needs.
And it's nice to have someone that can integrate those together and build the system, the environment for you already. Because, if you're not savvy with the tech, you'd have to understand, how do I get users and connections and accounts, and how do I get, integration between those? So it is cool that you guys have figured that out. You could customize, based on sizing of the company or their budget on maybe a solution for them. So that definitely saves people time, but I guess that's kind of what you guys do anyway. So as far as you would say the main things you like to keep track of in the book, I mean, you're keeping track of, it sounds like, the income and expense, operating expenses, P&L statements. rent roll, stuff like that. Is there particular areas you deem as the most important, or maybe the most difficult, that you see real estate investors have a trouble with, or always need help with?
All day, man. So, and honestly, the easiest way to talk about this is to talk about it like personal budgeting. So if you're like fiscally responsible, you have a personal budget at home, and you're probably used to talking about your money using two words. And you'll talk about your money like income and expenses,
Mhm.
right? Money comes in, money goes out. But you don't say money comes in, money goes out. You say income and expenses. And what that means then is that you go into something like QuickBooks or really any software, you're looking at an income statement and it says income and expenses. You say, okay, cool. This is all the money coming in and all the money going out. That's not right. That works for personal budgeting. That is not accounting. And so, like, case in point, one of the biggest issues that we'll see with real estate investors that are treating their business like a personal budget is they'll have things like construction draws or loan draws in their income. And if they leave it there, they're going to pay taxes on that loan, on the loan draw they received. That is wrong. That doesn't belong coded to that space in your bookkeeping. You're going to be spending a lot of money that you don't need to on that. And it makes you look unprofessional when you go in to get that loan from that next loan from the bank. The other big place that we see a lot of people taking a lot of weaknesses, a lot of losses, is in actually coding all of their rehab costs. If you're following the Burr method, right? You bought it, now you're rehabbing it. Sometimes we'll see people code the purchase of that house and the rehab to their income statement. That is also wrong. That's going to tank your income for the year. It doesn't have to be that way. Technically, you should be using your balance sheet for that stuff. And it is at that exact moment that we lose maybe 60% of every real estate investor we ever talk to. Most folks are always thinking about like their bigger pockets calculator or their income statement, their P&L, their personal financial statement, all of that stuff. But as soon as we start asking them questions about their balance sheet, everybody gets the chills. They're like, "Ben, I've never looked at that. I don't even know what that is." And then if I turn around and tell them that there's a third statement they could be looking at called the statement of cash flows, they're like, their brains melt. They're like, "I've never heard about this. Nobody's ever told me about this before." And then I turn around and tell them it's the most powerful statement in their business. They don't even like, it's like I'm speaking Greek to them, which is part of the reason that we do what we do. So we can handle
Sure.
this part and other people can do what they do best.
Huh, that makes sense. Interesting. Yeah, and I'm sure that's just a few of the many issues or hurdles people are trying to get through. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm sure it's infinite amount of things. So, as far as people getting used to the process and learning how to send in receipts and everything like that. Um, how would you develop a system for somebody as far as pricing goes? Is it based on their interaction with you, like daily or weekly or monthly? Is it the amount of transactions they do, how many employees and flips, or how is that usually gauged? If someone wants to know how much is a prefabricated system going to cost me?
Oh, sure. So, and there's a bunch of different variables to this. So I'll do my best to sum this up pretty quickly.
And you don't have to
First,
name numbers or anything,
oh,
just
sure.
roughly, sure, because
Oh, sure.
yeah, it's customized.
So the first thing that we always like to tell people is that you don't want to sit in my couch in my living room watching me work. And I don't want to go sit in your couch in your living room and work from your couch. So we
Yeah.
don't ever charge hourly. We think that's a pretty outdated model in the first place. Everything that we would end up doing is flat rate. And that's where we see most bookkeeping business going, if not from 3 years ago, definitely from today in the future. Flat rate just is easier. Um, from there, it really depends on the volume of that business. So whenever we're bringing in somebody new, we'll say, "Hey, send us the books that you have. We'll take a look at them. We'll see kind of what your volume is and give you a custom quote at a flat rate that will include the cost of, or can include at least the cost of QuickBooks Online and Receipt Bank and any other software that we're trying to use in the space." That's how we begin to get there. The real like kicker here is all about the systems and what do you need. So if you're an apartment syndicator and your property management company is already doing the books, but you're not 100% sure on what it is that they're doing, you're not confident in their numbers, or maybe you have multiple syndications, you like to consolidate those together,
Hmm.
That is a pretty straightforward process for us, where we just pull their numbers and we input them into a QuickBooks file and say, hey, here you go. Let's talk about them. Let's take some action. If you're a house flipper and you're going to do 60 house flips in a year, or you're going to burr 30 units this year, whatever it is, and you're doing it all yourself and you have a million Home Depot receipts, then your numbers are absolutely going to be higher. More often than not, what we see will be the best fit for somebody is really folks that know that they're going to make money, know that they don't have time to do their own bookkeeping, and really need this kind of strategic advisor in their life. People that do maybe one house flip a year, this would be a bad fit for. We'd much rather put them through something like a training program that we have, either like a standalone course or like collaborative group coaching, to help them learn and do their own thing so that someday they can scale up and outsource. But for sure, like it's kind of all over the map. Our more typical flat fee is in the $500 a month range. Sometimes it's way more, sometimes it's way less. It just depends on like how your business operates and how many businesses you actually have. Every entity
Right.
needs its own set of books. So that just compounds the workload.
No, that's that's a good reference, because I was going to ask, who's this not for? Is it obviously? It sounds like it. Would you take people that are in totally different business, maybe like hair salon, or do you want to only stick to real estate?
Exclusively real estate.
Okay.
It is a waste of everyone's time. Like if you run a hair salon, you want to hire me, I would much rather. So, and I got my coaching through bookkeepers.com. They have something like 8,000 students. They're running the certified digital bookkeeper right now. And so if I got a hair salon lead, I would immediately turn around and just give it over there and say, I don't even know your business. I can help real estate investors 10X, but I would be
Right.
a waste of time for you.
That makes sense. And that number is kind of good. I know it could vary because, you may need to look to see with all your income and expenses, is that something you can handle? And if it is, even if you're a small operation, but maybe you're making tons of money, you have a lot of transactions going through, that still might work for you, versus on that small side. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so the smallest real estate investor I've ever worked with had 3 doors, and he was brand new. He's a good friend of mine. I said, okay, we'll take him on. That guy would be a bad fit for us today, because he has zero intention of growing. We most recently, so about this time last year, we took on a client who had maybe 6 doors, but they wanted to really scale really quickly. So they got some coaching with us. They did some one-on-ones with us. They went from 6 doors to 12 doors. We were able to help them put their loan packets together. They hired us this time last year. And then in 12 months, they've gone from 12 doors to 36 doors. They're doing everything in-house. And they were just able to turn it on because they had the clarity that they needed. So that would be a great fit. If you're a mom and pop, or you want to do one at a time, max out at your 10 and go home, that we might not be the best fit for outsourcing, but we can for sure give you the education, the tools, maybe some coaching in order to know what systems to use in the first place.
And I always tell people they should have, really, you're trying to build a business, so you should have scalability in mind. There should be a point really everyone should want to get to where you have property managers, where you have maybe bookkeepers and everything like that. I mean, unless you want to run as mom and pop your whole life, but just keep in mind you're going to have to be doing all those little small jobs that might not be worth your time. So I think something like this is going to get more popular, and as you have been talked about now, showing your value that you can add, and the amount you most likely will save with the time with your CPA and her looking through all your P&L statements and your codings and categorizations and saying, hey, I can deduct these or I can't on these. Because I mean, I have to admit in the past, when using Excel sheets and not being super diligent on my own rentals, you miss things, obviously, that you don't put down. And then at the end of the year, you're trying to scramble and trying to figure out, okay, this was 205 days ago. What was this for? Clearly, would have been better to categorize that sooner and getting those things down. And you guys know the categories to put it in, so they'll be the most beneficial when it comes tax season. So, I mean, just for that standpoint, if you can make it back somewhere through the deductions and or credits or something to that effect, that could pay for the service there.
Sure. Well, and I'll actually do you one better. I hadn't even thought about this until you brought it up. So one of our clients had some other stuff going on, couldn't file on time this year, which means they're filing. Today's September 5th, so they got 5 days to figure this out, right? Um, I've spoken to their CPA personally every day this week. And they're calling me, asking me about questions in the transactions and the accounting, the income statement, the balance sheet. That guy doesn't even know that those conversations are happening. I'll text him and be like, hey, I just want to confirm that like this house is owned personally, not in the business or whatever. Otherwise, he's off doing whatever. We're having the conversation with the CPA because we've been in it. We're the mind readers. We're the best friend, right? And so even with like making sure that all these expenses are in there, there's this, like, I've spent hours on the phone with this lady this week. It's September. Like, we've still got, we got weeks of prime buying time left in this year, right? Do you want to spend that time babysitting your CPA through how real estate works? Like, I love babysitting. I think it's fantastic. I love talking to CPAs. I know how to cut it up with them. We have a good time. So there's absolutely the cost component. There's the like tax and expertise component. There's the lending component. We can help you get more money from the bank. Like it's all over the map. But yeah, man, it's everywhere.
The value add for the time is my theory of the biggest value add. And I know a lot of people, they might not consider the time as valuable right now, maybe into the future, but just from the lending side or from the tax time side, it could definitely pay for it. But I'm a big proponent of let the experts do what they do in your field. Because again, I'm never going to be an expert in accounting or being a CPA or, what other type of doing tile. So, right. and that goes along to, you obviously need to have the income and you need to scale and do bigger deals to afford people like you too. But, it's natural progression people should think about, or shoot, you could get to that scalability by maybe utilizing your services now versus later. That's kind of a thing you can think about now. You just gotta weigh it.
Yeah. And everybody's situation is different. Whenever somebody will ask us like, hey, what's your ideal client? What's your best fit? Anything like that. It's like, at the end of the day, for us, it's about the drive, like the desire to grow. Where you're at in your life cycle at that point is kind of moot. Like we'll have folks that are doing just fine. They just need to outsource because they hate it. And then we'll have folks that are not doing great because they did the creative side of financing. They've got a dozen hard money loans and they're up to their eyeballs in this debt and they're not cash flowing and their whole plan hinged on the refinance and they just can't get the refinance to go through. And then we'll help them refinance and it puts an extra, $10,000 a month in their pocket because they're not paying 15% anymore or whatever it is. Right. And like, again, like not a dig at hard money, not a dig at anything. It's just like wherever you're at in your life, I can almost guarantee you that a bookkeeper can provide value if they know real estate.
Yeah. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, nobody wants to do bookkeeping. So you got a niche right there.
Dude, you're telling me. Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you got to be, the people, as I always say, like selling the shovels in a gold rush, not necessarily the people trying to compete for all this real estate, but providing the contractor services, the accounting services, CPA services, construction services, or landscaping. So I think you're in a solid field and it's going to grow because, as you know, a lot of people, the new hotness is real estate investing.
Exactly. Right. As soon as the lending markets get over their uncertainty on what's happening,
yep.
I think like it's just going to bust wide open, man.
Yeah. And the government keeps printing, you have inflation, you're forced to put your funds into not necessarily riskier assets, but you can't keep it in the bank anymore. So you have to be forced to put in stocks and real estate and those don't necessarily maintain themselves. So people just need to be wary of those things out there and have the services to keep those investments strong. Let's finish up with a couple more questions and then we'll close it up. I want to end with what do you see right now in the COVID era as far as how business is doing? And then after, do you see any laws taking effect that's going to be affecting accounting or bookkeeping or your business in general?
Sure. So we don't have enough time, I think, to get into all of the ramifications of the CARES Act loans that came through. That's going to be causing that's going to put a lot of money in a lot of accountants' pockets forever. Because on the idle loan, on the PPP loan, if you're not able to get out of it, you absolutely sign on the line that says, hey, I'm going to turn in reports to the SBA by March 15th on how my business has did in the last year. That's in the documents that you sign. So the bookkeeping is a must there. That's going to become much more stringent. I absolutely expect that everybody's going to get more Facebook ads about, are you ready for COVID or for your SBA filing? Be on the lookout for that. As far as the general business move, or maybe even like the tenant moves or whatever, I mean, it's like, it all really, for me, it comes back down to that uncertainty and that fear. There's all kinds of people talking about, oh, everything's going to be virtual now, or everybody's going to be work from home, or everything's going to go back to normal, right? But the point right now is that everybody's in a state of panic. And so we're kind of doing this fight or flight thing. We've had folks that are like, yes, we were all like sticks and bricks, in-house shop, but now we're going to do all online because we're going to fight. We're going to get through this. And then we've got people that are totally on the opposite end of the spectrum. And they're saying, hey, like we've been kind of doing a little bit of everything, but now we're really concerned. So we're going to cut everything off. We're going to pull everything in-house. We're going to hope everything's going to be okay. And that's just, with that kind of big movement and decision-making, that's going to hurt a lot of businesses. It's going to help a lot of businesses. The most important thing that you can do right now is be flexible, be financially savvy, do your marketing, tell people that you're a business owner, right? Keep running your business, be smart about it. Don't take it lying down, because you'll go out of business if you're passive right now. Like, I firmly believe you'll go out of business if you're passive right now.
Yeah. And that's not the good part of passive, being a passive investor. You got to be a passive business owner, kind of doesn't work. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, hopefully, the lending side loosens up. People start doing some more business. And as people do more business, they can afford services like you. And again, you might provide the value to provide funds for them to scale the business. So again, it depends how you look at all these services out there. But hopefully this pandemic and the scare thing kind of calms down, and we get back to it. I know they're talking about whether it's going to be just time or cure or whatnot. I know everyone is struggling, but at the same time, you got to keep going, because we're humans. We're not going to necessarily shell up and shelter and totally change the way of life. And for the most part, it looks like everything's okay. You don't see people dropping left and right in the streets. So right. I think people will be safe. We'll be fine. A lot of us being entrepreneurs definitely don't take stuff lying down. That's for sure. So that sounds good. Let's go ahead and give people some contact info. Maybe a Facebook site, obviously website, a contact email, number, stuff like that.
Sure. So my business is Lionshare Bookkeeping. We have a great website. I've got a Facebook page, LinkedIn, the whole bit. I am firmly committed to creating as much content as I possibly can this year. So we've already written our first mini book on bookkeeping for rentals, which is like 30 pages, $3, how to talk to your tax preparer about BRRRR, get all the basic stuff out of the way that you can go grab on Amazon. And that's totally digital. And then I literally wrapped our first set of video recordings for our podcast channel for Lionshare last night. And so those should be up here hopefully over the weekend. And so you can literally find us everywhere, which is obviously my grandmaster plan, because I'm an evil genius. But yeah, that's what we're doing. And you can find us everywhere.
No, that's good. And I appreciate you jumping on a week's notice and reaching out. I think as more people like yourself get out there and say, hey, I know we've been in the shadows for a while. It's kind of a new face. We have technology. It's easier. We could offer much more value than you thought before. It's guys like you and a few other people in the MAREI community that's going to, show the importance of bookkeeping that has kind of been in the backlights before for maybe the mainstream, younger, newer crowd, not necessarily for obviously established business. They've always had bookkeeping, but I'm saying for, especially a lot, starting up real estate people.
Well, sure. Look, man, our aim is total disruption. It's like people have thought about bookkeepers like folks in green visors since the dawn of time. Bookkeeping professionals today are going to be able to do that job and interface with the lender and the CPA and know all the sweet new technology that you can use to make the life easier, right? And be able to talk about all of that in English. Like we're just like ready to dominate the world. So yeah, fundamentally, there's going to be more of us, and I'm here to spread the good news.
You need the making bookkeeping cool again or something, t-shirt or hat, of course.
Yeah,
make sure it doesn't blend in too much. You might get some guff. I know you can't, everyone is pretty sensitive nowadays. So, but I mean, I think real estate people are a pretty tough crowd. So I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, everybody in real estate's a resilient bunch. You're willing to get it done, get dirty,
Right.
figure it out. Yeah, I love real estate investors, man. They're so cool.
Sounds good. Well, appreciate the info. We'll get it up here. Go and then in a couple of months we'll reach out to you again, see how the laws or if everything drastically changed. You can kind of give us a quick update and remind people the services again. But other than that, I think the MAREI community definitely appreciates the information and how they can utilize guys like yourself more. And before I forget to, of course, for anyone that's not a member, check out marei.org/membership. Kim Tucker runs it. She's the queen of the biggest real estate group here in Kansas City, and she doesn't sleep, and she constantly provides benefit to all the real estate investors out there. So she also appreciates you joining the interview and giving everybody the lowdown on bookkeeping and making it cool again. So other than that, thanks again, man. And we'll talk to you here in so many months, and hopefully the news is better on the pandemic front.
Absolutely, man. It was my pleasure. Happy to come back anytime.
Have a good weekend.
You too, brother.
All right, later. Bye.
All right, bye.